Hi, in today's video I'm going to show you an easy and simple way that you might be able to improve the radio reception on your mid-70s through early 80s NuTone radio intercom master stations. And this specifically applies to models like the IM303, the IMA303, the wide variations of IM through IMD 313s, the IM and IMA 323, the IM 406, the IMA 406, the SM 428, all of those models that were made between roughly 1975 and 1983. All of those models share one common design aspect, which is the radio tuner. This is an old-fashioned or old-school analog tuner, none of this modern digital tuner nonsense. And this is the type of tuner that when you turn the tuning knob, you move the pointer left or right, and you tune in AM or FM radio stations. And over here we have our selector switch. It's in the FM position here at the bottom, and if we move it up to the top, it's now an AM, and we're tuning on the top part of the scale. Sometimes these sets work just fine, but sometimes certain stations, more on the FM than the AM, will be hard to lock into, and you'll fiddle back and forth, and unless you get it just right, it's really hard to get it on track to do that. And I'm going to show you an easy thing that you can do that will often solve this problem or make your reception better. It's something that the installer was supposed to do when he put your system in, but it's an often overlooked kind of thing. The first thing we have to do this, and you don't need a lot in the way of tools to do this, really all you're going to need is a flat screwdriver, and that's primarily just to open up the master station. The rest of it, we're just going to use our finger because it's really simple. Most of all of those models that I mentioned, they're held in place with a pin that holds it against the wall here at the top of the master station. Some of the larger units like the 313s and the SM428s, they'll have a couple screws that go through the faceplate, and we probably have a video that addresses how to open up those different models in different playlists, so you'll kind of have to look for that. For in this example, we're going to use this IM303. To take this out, we have to wedge the pin out of the hole, and I'm going to show you how to do that. So here's the pin that goes through the faceplate and holds it against the wall. Oftentimes these are really hard to get out because your master station may not have been opened up since the day it was installed, so that's where the screwdriver comes in handy. You just put the head of the screwdriver underneath the head of the pin and you wedge it up a little bit like this. Sometimes when you get it up part way, you can pull it out with your fingers, but this one doesn't want to come out, so we'll just finish prying it up carefully out of the faceplate. And once you have it most of the way out, the set will be loose from the wall, so you need to support it with your finger so it doesn't flop down and fall off the hinges. And once you open it up a little bit, you're going to need the pin again at the end, so you don't want to lose it. So a good place to put it is in the hole in the little bracket where it came out of right here, because that's a nice safe place for it. Once you've done that, then you can carefully let the set fold down on its hinges so we can get to the back side. Let's do a quick brief overview of what we're looking at, and then we'll get to the heart of what the video is about. In this corner down here, this is our AM/FM tuner assembly. Here we have our talk, listen, control module. We have our on-off switch, our selector switch, our intercom switches here, our volume to all speaker and tone control. This is the terminal board where all of the wiring from the remote speakers are connected. We have the master station speaker and the main amplifier power supply board here. The part that this video is concerned with is going to be about the AM/FM tuner module. Now, before we get into the simple adjustment that you can make yourself, let's talk about analog tuner modules. This is an analog tuner module. It's not digital, it's analog. In this case means mechanical, and if you watch here, you'll see this assembly is the variable condenser. This is what does the tuning. So when you turn the knob, you'll see the drum right here, turn. See it turn? And you'll see the vanes on the condenser rotate, open and close. And that's how the tuning is done on a tuner like this. Now, here's the cautionary part. If you mess this up, with all of everyone's best intentions, you will ruin it. It's really that simple. So here's the next part of the cautionary thing. You do not spray anything on this. You don't spray it with compressed air. You don't spray it with WD-40. You don't spray it with contact or switch cleaner. You don't put Windex on it. You don't put anything on it at all. If you get any type of liquid on the variable condenser assembly, you will throw the adjustment of the tuner way out of whack, and you'll get absolutely zero reception. You will get nothing, and you will ruin it, because I have had people send me sets where they sprayed WD-40 or something else and got it all on the tuning condenser, and you can't always get it clean enough to restore it back to good working condition. So we're not going to spray anything. It doesn't need it, and that's not what this video is about. The other thing is, there are lots of little adjustments on the tuner assembly. All of these little square cans are all adjustments. These little round straw tubes, these are all adjustments. This is one also. We're not messing with any of those. Those are pre-adjusted at the factory when the tuner was aligned so it would work correctly. There are also screw adjustments here on the variable condenser. There's these four and this little square one right here. We're not messing with any of those. If you twiddle with any of these adjustments and you don't know what you're doing and you don't have the proper shop equipment to hook up to it and measure and calibrate what you're doing, you will throw it out of alignment and it will not work. So that is your caution. If you do that, it's an expensive process to get it back into alignment so it works properly again. So you have been forewarned. Okay, so don't do it. Put the screwdriver down and leave it as it is, because that's not where the problem lies. What I'm going to show you is something that's much, much simpler. All right, so now on to the heart of the matter. So everybody who's watching this video, raise your hand if you had a CB radio in the 70s and the 80s. So all of you who had CB radios, remember that there was always an adjustment on your CB radio. It was the Squelch Adjustment. And the Squelch Adjustment adjust the sensitivity of the receiver to block out the static sound that you get in between channels, or in the case of a tuner, in between stations, and it also blocks out weak stations that you really can't receive. Otherwise, as you scroll up and down the tuning dial, you get all of this static and you get these stations that are far away and really weak, and you really can't receive them properly. All of the tuners in all of those models, in the sets that were made from the mid-70s through the mid-80s, they all use a tuner assembly just like this one, and on this tuner assembly there's a squelch adjustment. And when your system was installed, the installer was supposed to adjust the squelch setting to suit the reception in your area. They did not come factory preset because NuTone couldn't know what the reception was like in your area, so it was something the installer was supposed to do. And how many times do you think that actually happened? Most of the time it didn't. So the squelch adjustment is this little blue thumb wheel right here, and that's what we're going to look at. So here's a close-up of our little blue squelch thumb wheel, and you can see right here it has a fixed body, the little tan part with the metal ring on this side. There's the little blue thumb wheel on the right hand side, and this little indexing tab, which is part of the blue wheel, which gives you some indication of where it's adjusted at. So what we're going to do is, let me explain how this works. Lots of times, if we rotate this down, or so the tab moves towards you, when it's all the way down in this position, you have maximum squelch. That means that you're not going to hear really any static in between stations. You're not going to be able to receive any weak stations. In fact, you're only going to be able to receive the strongest stations that are out there. And that's really, in most cases, way too much. If we rotate it fully the other direction, and I'm using a screwdriver, I know we said we weren't going to use any tools. I'm doing it this way so you can see what I'm doing. Otherwise, I would be using my finger. If we rotate it all the way away from us to the other end of the adjustment scale, and this little blue thumb wheel, it only rotates about 3/4 of a turn is its maximum travel. It doesn't go around and around and around and around. It's only one end to the other, about 3/4 of a turn. So now we have it turned all the way in the other direction, so we have no squelch. It will try to receive every single weak station in the world. It will receive strong stations. If the stations are too strong, they may sound distorted. You will get infinite static in between everything, and it will be equally as unusable. What you usually want is something sort of in the mid-range of this. And like I said, these didn't come preset. They were very random. And what you want to do, and it's not uncommon, when I work on sets, I find a lot of them are at maximum squelch. And that means that that system is going to have very poor reception. So what you want to do is you want to play with this a little bit to see if you can improve the reception on stations that you like. So let me show you how to do this in a practical point. So let's say you open up your IMA 303 and you look at this and you see the little tab is set right here. Well, and you want to play with it a little bit. It would be good to know before and after you start to play with it where it was originally. And you would be surprised how easy it is to forget. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a really fine little marker here, and we're going to put a little red line on one side of the blue tab and a little red line on the other side of the blue tab. Now we know where it was to start with, and that's close enough. This is not so incredibly sensitive that if it's a half a red line width one way or the other, it's not going to make any difference. But it gives you a starting point. So in case you screw it up, or in case there is no real improvement, you can simply roll it back to the spot that it usually was. If you find that yours is way too much squelch, which is not uncommon, way down here, roll it the other direction towards less squelch, and then tip the set up like this, tip it up, and turn it on and try, and you can do this with it on and while it's playing, and try tuning in that station you're trying to receive and see if it works better. Most of the time, if you had way too much squelch, which tends to be the most common thing that I see, rolling it back to sort of a midpoint will oftentimes improve it a whole lot. Now, you may get a little more blank staticky noise in between stations, but for most people, they don't really care. If they can get that one station that they really want to listen to, that makes them happy, and that's all you got to do. And that's really all there is to making an adjustment on your NuTone analog tuner assembly that may help improve your reception. Once you're done with your adjustments, and hopefully your reception for that one specific station you really want will have been improved, all you have to do is remove the pin from the bracket, fold the set back up, align the hole in the faceplate with the hole in the bracket, and put the pin back in all the way, and you're good to go. So there's a quick and easy thing that you can try if you've been suffering with poor radio reception on your favorite radio stations for, say, the last 35 or 40 years. I hope you found this interesting and helpful. If you did, please give it a thumbs up on YouTube, because that always helps. If you find our videos interesting and helpful, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. There'll be a banner right here that shows you how to subscribe. Go to our YouTube homepage, click on the wheel or on the bell on the YouTube banner, put in your email address, and every time we post a video, you'll get a notification. That's all for today. See you on the next video.